In a quiet Texas town, a poor mechanic meets a billionaire mother desperate to help her disabled daughter walk. What begins as a simple request soon turns into a life-changing miracle. This is the story of a man with nothing, who gave a little girl everything she ever dreamed of. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. Jake Turner had always lived a quiet life in a small Texas town where everyone knew each other and nothing surprising ever happened. His mechanic shop sat at the end of a long, dusty road, surrounded by old pickup trucks and fields that stretched forever. Most days were slow, filled with the clinking of metal tools and the soft hum of engines being fixed. Jake didn't have much, but he had a reputation. He never said no to anyone who needed help. People trusted him because he worked with his heart, not just his hands, and he believed every broken thing deserved a second chance. One hot afternoon, just when Jake was closing the shop, he heard the deep roar of an expensive engine rolling up the gravel road. It was rare to see luxury cars out here. People in this town drove simple trucks or old sedans. When a black SUV stopped in front of his workshop, Jake wiped the grease off his hands and stepped outside. The SUV door opened, and a woman dressed in elegant yet worried attire stepped out. Her eyes were red, as though she had been crying for hours. In her arms was a small girl, fragile-looking, with soft brown hair and legs that hung limp. The woman introduced herself as Olivia Grant, a name Jake recognized from magazines and television, one of the wealthiest businesswomen in America. But here, in front of him, she didn't look powerful. She looked scared, tired, and desperate. She gently placed her daughter's wheelchair on the ground and carefully seated her inside. The girl's name was Lily, 9 years old, born with a condition that made her unable to stand or walk. Every specialist had given Olivia the same answer: "There is nothing more we can do." But a mother's hope is stubborn. She refused to believe her daughter's story was already written. Olivia explained how she ended up here. A friend of hers had mentioned a small-town mechanic who could fix anything, a man who saw possibilities where others saw limits. Jake listened quietly, not sure why someone so powerful would come to him. But when he looked at Lily sitting silently, clutching a small stuffed bear, something tugged at his heart. Her eyes were full of quiet hope, the kind of hope that trusts without questioning. Olivia's voice shook as she said, "She has never stood on her own. I know it sounds impossible, but I'm asking you to try. Please." Jake knelt in front of Lily, meeting her eyes gently. He didn't make promises. He never believed in giving someone false hope. But he also knew that miracles didn't always come from medicine or money. Sometimes they came from trying when others refused. He nodded slowly and said, "Don't know how yet, but I'll try." Olivia exhaled for the first time in hours, her shoulders loosening as though a weight had lifted. She wasn't expecting perfection. She just wanted someone who cared enough to try harder than the rest of the world had tried for her little girl. Jake asked if he could examine Lily's legs. With her permission, he leaned forward and gently touched the braces she wore. They were expensive, lightweight, and medically designed, but they didn't help her stand. Jake could see the problem wasn't just the braces. Lily needed something stronger, more supportive, something that didn't exist in stores or hospitals. He asked Olivia to bring Lily again the next morning so he could take measurements and begin planning. Olivia agreed instantly. She had flown thousands of miles searching for hope. She wasn't leaving now. That night, after locking the shop, Jake didn't go home. He sat at his workbench, studying diagrams on his old laptop and sketching designs in a notebook. He thought about creating a supportive exoskeleton frame, a mechanical leg brace with adjustable joints, something that could hold Lily's weight without putting pressure on her weak muscles. It wouldn't be easy. He wasn't an engineer or a doctor, but he had spent his life solving problems, using only scraps, tools, and stubborn determination. As he worked, he remembered his father's words: "Machines break when the world gives up on them. People break when nobody tries to fix what's inside." By morning, Jake had an outline of an idea. Nothing perfect, nothing certain, but something worth trying. He cleaned the workshop, pushed aside cars waiting for repair, and cleared a large open space. When Olivia arrived with Lily, he welcomed them and explained his plan. Olivia listened intently, her eyes softening with every word. She wasn't expecting guarantees. She just needed hope that came from effort. Lily watched Jake work with innocent curiosity, holding onto her bear as though it understood her fears better than anyone. Jake carefully measured Lily's legs, her posture, and the angle at which her knees bent. Lily giggled nervously when the measuring tape tickled her feet, and Jake smiled softly, realizing she trusted him more than he expected. He worked the entire afternoon cutting metal, shaping pieces, and welding joints. The sound of grinding tools filled the workshop, but Lily didn't mind. She watched him closely, as if believing that each spark of metal was a spark of hope. Olivia sat quietly in the corner, hands tightly folded, silently praying this small-town mechanic would succeed where the world had failed. By evening, Jake had the first rough frame built, far from complete but a beginning. Olivia thanked him again and again before driving away, promising to return the next morning. Jake watched the SUV disappear down the dusty road, then looked back at the metal frame sitting on his table. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, and sometimes a start was all a miracle needed. Jake locked the shop for the night, knowing tomorrow he would push even harder, not just for Lily, but for the belief that no child should be told impossible before someone truly tries. The next morning, Jake arrived at the workshop early, long before sunrise. He wanted every tool in place, every measurement ready, because he knew today mattered. When Olivia and Lily arrived, the small shop felt strangely brighter. Lily smiled shyly when she saw the metal frame Jake had prepared. It wasn't complete, not even close, but to her, it looked like hope. Jake gently lifted the frame and explained how it would support her legs while training her muscles. Olivia watched closely, amazed at how deeply Jake understood something he'd never studied professionally. It wasn't medical knowledge, it was heart-driven innovation. Jake began adjusting the frame, making sure every joint was smooth and every lock was firm. Lily sat quietly in her wheelchair, observing every movement with wide, curious eyes. She liked how Jake never treated her like she was broken. He didn't speak to her with pity, nor did he rush anything. Instead, he explained everything step by step, making her feel involved. When he asked if he could test the strap fit on her legs, she nodded without hesitation. Olivia noticed this trust forming and felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. Jake strapped the frame around Lily's legs carefully, adjusting the buckles so they wouldn't hurt her skin. Once fitted, he supported her weight by holding the back of the frame so she wouldn't fall. Lily giggled nervously, unsure what to expect. "We won't try standing today," Jake said softly. "First we build strength, little by little." Olivia appreciated this patience. Doctors had tried to make Lily stand too quickly, causing her pain and fear. Jake was different. He understood that healing wasn't just physical. It was emotional, too. For the next few days, Jake focused on strengthening Lily's comfort with the frame. He encouraged her to move her legs gently, practicing tiny motions while he held her steady. Sometimes she laughed when she felt the frame shift. Sometimes she looked tired and needed breaks. Olivia stayed beside her the entire time, cheering her on, wiping sweat from her forehead and whispering encouragement. She felt grateful for Jake's dedication. He didn't ask for money, didn't ask for recognition. He simply worked like Lily's success meant something personal to him. During breaks, Jake returned to his workbench to refine the mechanical structure, filing down sharper edges, adding padding, strengthening the metal joints. He used spare parts from old motorcycles, pieces from discarded machines, and creativity that came straight from the heart. Lily watched him in fascination, often asking innocent questions about tools, bolts, and sparks. Jake answered every single question, treating her like she mattered. Olivia noticed how Lily's confidence grew each day and how her laughter returned, something that had disappeared since doctors gave up. By the end of the week, Jake had completed the upgraded frame, lighter, stronger, smoother. When he revealed it, Lily gasped with excitement. It didn't look like some complicated medical device. It looked like something made just for her, with love and precision. Jake lifted the frame and carefully helped Lily slip into it. Her legs looked straighter, better positioned, and Jake felt a quiet satisfaction knowing he had crafted something meaningful. Olivia placed her hands on her heart, unable to believe how far they'd come in such little time. Jake held Lily steady and encouraged her to take tiny side steps. At first she hesitated, fearing she might fall, but Jake's soothing voice reassured her. Olivia knelt nearby, cheering her daughter on with every small motion. Jake celebrated her tiny achievement as if she'd run a marathon. "You did that," he told her proudly. Lily blushed and whispered, "Can I try again?" And she did, again and again with growing determination. Over the next several days, the routine became a rhythm. Jake worked tirelessly, adjusting the frame, improving balance, and strengthening support. Lily practiced consistently, her muscles trembling but learning. Olivia watched every moment with emotional intensity. This was something no doctor, no expensive clinic had given her. Nah. She'd spent fortunes searching for help across the country, yet the miracle was happening in a dusty workshop in a forgotten Texas town. She often found herself wiping tears, humbled by the realization that kindness could achieve what money couldn't. As Lily grew stronger, Jake prepared for the next step, attempting to help her stand fully. But he didn't rush. He explained the process carefully, making sure Lily felt mentally ready. Olivia admired how he treated her daughter like a partner in her own healing. By the end of the third week, Lily's posture had improved enough that Jake believed they were ready for the big moment. He sat with Olivia, explaining what would happen, ensuring they were emotionally prepared. Olivia squeezed his hand, her voice shaky, and said, "Whatever happens, thank you. Thank you." The morning Lily was meant to try standing. The air in Jake's workshop felt different, quiet, heavy, hopeful. Jake prepared everything with extra care, double-checking the straps, joints, and support locks on the exoskeleton frame. Olivia stood beside Lily, gently brushing her daughter's hair, trying to hide how nervous she was. Lily seemed calm, almost excited, unaware of how life-changing the next few minutes could be. Jake knelt in front of her, looked her in the eyes, and said softly, "No matter what happens today, I'm proud of you. You're brave, Lily." She smiled, gripping her bear tightly. Jake helped her into the frame, making sure every part was perfectly positioned. He locked the support behind her knees, adjusted the waist belt, and placed his hands gently at her sides. Lily inhaled deeply, sensing the importance of the moment. Olivia stood a few feet away, covering her mouth, tears already gathering in her eyes. Jake whispered, "Okay, sweetheart, we're going slow. Ready?" Lily nodded with determination. Jake gave a gentle lift, guiding her posture as she pressed her feet to the ground. It wasn't just mechanics. It was hope, courage, and trust working together. Slowly, Lily's legs straightened. Her body trembled. Her breathing grew fast, but she didn't stop. Jake steadied her shoulders, allowing her muscles to engage just enough without overwhelming her. Inch by inch, her small frame lifted upward. Olivia gasped, falling to her knees as she watched her daughter rise higher than she ever had in her life. Lily's eyes widened with shock. "Mom, I'm up," she whispered. Olivia burst into tears, unable to hold back the years of pain, fear, and longing. Jake swallowed hard, his own eyes shining, but he stayed steady, focused on Lily's balance. For a moment, everything in the workshop froze. No sound, no movement, just a little girl standing for the first time. Lily looked around, overwhelmed by the new feeling of seeing the world from a height she had never known. Jake carefully moved his hand to her back, giving her independence while still keeping her safe. "Do you want to try a step?" he asked softly. Lily hesitated, but when she saw her mom's trembling smile, she nodded again. Slowly, she moved her right foot forward. The frame held her steady, and Jake guided her body weight perfectly. It was a step, but it felt like a miracle. Olivia cried harder, pressing both hands over her heart, whispering prayers of gratitude. She crawled closer to Lily, afraid to break the moment by getting too loud. Lily took another trembling step, her legs shaking but her spirit fierce. Jake's voice was gentle, steadying. "You're doing this," he told her, "not the machine. You." Lily looked up at him, tears forming in her eyes. She had spent her whole life being carried, pushed, and lifted. This was the first time she moved without someone holding her entire weight. It was the first time she felt capable. After several steps, Lily grew tired, and Jake carefully lowered her back into a wheelchair. Olivia rushed in and hugged her tightly, sobbing into her daughter's hair. Lily hugged her back, smiling proudly. "I stood, Mom," she said softly. "I really did." Olivia kissed her forehead again and again, whispering, "You are my miracle." Jake stepped back, giving them space, wiping sweat and emotion from his face. He wasn't used to praise, but he felt something deep inside, a quiet satisfaction, a sense of purpose he had never known. For once, fixing something wasn't about metal or machines. It was about life. When Olivia finally turned toward Jake, her expression was filled with gratitude too deep for words. She walked to him slowly, tears still streaming. "Jake, you don't understand what you've given us," she whispered. "I've spent fortunes looking for help. But you," her voice broke, "you gave my daughter a piece of life I thought she would never have." Jake shook his head gently. "She did the hard part. I just made the tool." But Olivia knew he had given far more than a tool. He had given hope, dignity, possibility, and that kind of gift couldn't be measured. That night, back at her hotel, Olivia made a call. She contacted her assistant, her board members, even her lawyers. "A fine Jake Turner," she said firmly. "They want to buy him a bigger workshop, the best equipment, a full team, whatever he needs." She wasn't doing it out of charity. Jake had talent the world needed. There were thousands of children like Lily whose lives could change with the kind of innovation Jake created in a dusty little shop. She wanted to make sure he had the power to help them all. This wasn't a reward. It was an investment in miracles. The next morning, when Olivia and Lily returned to the workshop, Jake was surprised to see a convoy of vehicles outside. Business advisors, architects, and reporters. Olivia smiled warmly at his confusion. She stepped forward and said, "Jake, I want to build you a state-of-the-art rehabilitation workshop right here in town. Fully funded, fully equipped. You changed my daughter's life. Let me help you change the world." Jake felt overwhelmed, humbled, unsure if he deserved such things. But when he looked at Lily, smiling, waving, full of new possibilities, he knew he couldn't stop now. He nodded slowly. A new chapter had begun. Thanks for watching this heartwarming story of courage, kindness, and miracles. Remember, sometimes the smallest acts of love can change someone's entire life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next story.